Hey, welcome to the Perfect Podcast Show on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm the host. Oh, that thumb. There you go. I'm the host, Keith, of the Perfect Podcast Show. The show where my goal is to do the perfect podcast show. A podcast is a show. Maybe it's a little redundant, I've been told. That podcast in a show. I've also been told this is a video, not just an audio podcast. So maybe video podcast or vodcast would have been a better name for the show, but we already have it. I paid 20 grand each for each of these signs. Not going to buy new ones, and I'm not going to change the name of the show, but this is my purgatory. If I can make the perfect show, then we can stop. Then I can stop this show. I can be released from this studio. They locked the doors. I can't leave. I can't leave until I have a perfect show. So I'm hoping today we will have a perfect show. I'm feeling good about this one. I'm feeling good. But you know what? If you have any tips for me, if you have any ideas of how to make a perfect show, any suggestions, or maybe you can call in and say, you know what, Keith, I think that previous show was a perfect show, that would be great. So you can call in. Actual phone number we have here at the studio, 818-392-4623. 818-392-4623. Please call in. Please say I've done the perfect show so then I can stop. Please. I'm just trying to make the perfect show. Haven't done it yet, but if you call in and tell me we have or have any tips or advice to make the perfect show, then maybe I can be released from my purgatory. All right, well, let's listen to one of those calls now. We have lots of great calls that came in. So we're going to listen to one now, and maybe, you know, if they say this is the one, then, or the previous one was the one, then I guess I'm done. So let's listen to one of those calls. Hi there. Thanks for calling the Perfect Podcast Show. Leave your message and we'll play it on the air. How was that? Does that work?
Hey, it's Bobby De Niro, the Perfect Podcast Show. You're so great, man. Like, really good. Now, if I ever see you outside my show begging for me to leave you a voicemail, I'm going to come to yours and make you a dinner you won't forget. I got you.
Well, I guess I have not made the perfect show yet, so I'm still going to keep trying. Thanks for that call. Going to keep trying here to make the perfect podcast show. I'm just going to keep on trying. Thanks for that call. Again, you can call in as well, 818-392-4623. It is a real phone number where you can really leave a message. No one will pick up when you call. It's just a voicemail. All right, so my guest today, very, very excited for this guest. Very, very excited because they're back for the second time. We had a great conversation last time, and we'll keep it going this time with even more insightful words. Hopefully this one will be perfect. Please welcome, not yet because we have to play an ad. One of our sponsors of the Perfect Podcast Show today is Tom's Rubber Donut Emporium. It's not donuts, it's tires. Come on in and don't eat them.
Every morning, our owner, Tom, wakes up at the crack of dawn to make the best rubber donuts for you. And the fresh baked smell wafts throughout the town. You can smell those tasty, delicious hot rubber donuts whenever you're out for a morning walk or just driving down the street. You can smell them baking in the oven. Again, we're talking about tires, not donuts. Please stop trying to eat them.
And Tom's Rubber Donut Emporium has a wonderful selection of tires, just as his famous baked, delicious mud terrain chocolate filled, flavorsome winter snow Boston cream filled, yum yum in my tum tum off-road rainbow sprinkles, and of course, the it tastes good low profile glazed rubber donut, which is not a donut, it's a tire.
Tom doesn't understand why there's confusion because clearly he only makes tires, not donuts. So come on in to Tom's Rubber Donut Emporium. It's not donuts, it's tires. Don't eat them. Yum.
You gotta have ads for a podcast, and the Perfect Podcast Show is no different, which is why we have ads. And also that these signs were 20 grand each and I have to pay for them. Okay, so now we have a very special guest returning to the show again. He was here a little bit ago, sort of here, but not really. But okay, I think we figured it all out. And he's now officially going to join. I'm so excited about this. The Perfect Podcast Show. Please welcome Mr. Bob Iger. Oh boy. Hello? Bob. Bob, this. Okay, it's happening again. We can't see you. And we can't hear you. Hello? Bob, this is the time we talked about. If you're there. Are you there, Bob? Hello? Bob. Bob Iger. Disney's Bob Iger. Are you there? Hello? All right, well, I guess come on later if you're here, or just send me a note or something. All right, well, we tried for Bob Iger again, no luck there. Okay, but my guest today, returning, a guest of the show, returning for the second time. It's the sequel, if you will, the sequel of this guest. And we're going to have a conversation, and hopefully this will be perfect. Maybe it'll be the perfect episode. Please release me from this purgatory. Purgatory podcast, still tossing around that name. Anyways, please welcome my guest, very funny comedian, just a naturally funny person. You know, some comedians were like, they're always like testing material on you. This guest is just naturally funny. Doesn't feel like they're ever doing an act. They're just naturally funny. Excited for this conversation. Please welcome back to the perfect podcast show. Drum roll. I don't know if the mic picks that up. Anyways, please welcome Kym Kral. Thanks for being here on the show. I'm excited to start to talk to you.
I know.
I mean, this is still the intro. We haven't even started the show. we started talking, and then they'll get into the show.
That's wild. I don't eat a lot of dairy. I've started to get high before bed. Hear me out.
With dairy?
Yeah, I smoke the dairy. I don't know. I mean, I have my mother is this sounds sad. It's not. I mean, I guess it is, but my mother is an addict. And every time you say that, everyone's like, oh my God. And it's like, okay.
Well, we're all fucked up. We're all fucked up.
And so
why is that more fucked up? Oh, they're an addict. Oh, that's so fucked up. But I'm not fucked up. Yes, you are. We're all fucked up the same.
You're fucked up. Yeah. There's varying stories, but it's all fucked up.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
So she one of her like sober times, and I'm using air quotes for a reason. One of her sober times, she told me once she got sober, she goes, yeah, there was a period that I was drinking, you know, those big Alka-Seltzer family packs you get at Costco.
Whoa.
She was drinking one of those a day.
Whoa.
And when people go, a pack, that whole pack. And when people, and I asked the same thing that everyone asks me. They're like, does that even get you high? And my mother, my very beautiful, classy mother who says things like this, she goes, honey, you drink anything enough, it'll get you high.
I like that she's classy, because starting this as an addict, we have an image in our mind, and then it turns out like, oh, she's a very classy woman.
She's very beautiful, classy. I mean, I truthfully haven't talked to her in years, because she is a drug addict, and she's now in a harder stuff than Alka-Seltzer. But so if I did smoke, if you drink anything enough, it'll get you high.
Yeah.
Honey, she had like a cigarette and sunglasses on.
The long thing attached to the cigarette. Yeah, it's true. If you have enough of anything, I'm sure it'll mess you up in some way.
In some way, yeah. So I started, so I don't sleep well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's from I have long COVID. And I just, ever since I got that first COVID, I just don't sleep as well. So I used to take Benadryl, and I asked a doctor about that, and they were like, yeah, that's what a lot of like nighttime doctors and nurses use, because it's allergy medication and it doesn't damage anything. It just puts you to sleep. So it's safe to use every day, right? But then somebody was like, why don't you try gummies? And I'm like, well, I'm not really a marijuana person. Like, I don't understand how people get high and then just go out into the world and then just interact with others. There are people who are high all the time.
I know.
And I'm like, how do you... I went to an open mic that was at a green room weed shop, and it was, so everyone was smoking inside, and I can't go back there because I have respiratory stuff, and it fucked me up for like 4 days. But I left, and I was driving home, and I was like, oh my God, I'm high. Oh my God, I'm high. And I texted my buddy, and I was like, do you drive home high every week after that mic? And he goes, well, yeah, I had some blunt. And I was like, how do you drive? I was secondhand high, and I couldn't drive.
Wow. It's just, you gotta go all in. Okay, so then you have gummies that night.
So I started taking gummies, and they work, but you have to take them at a certain, like, it's a science. Like, it has to be at a certain point, because otherwise, if I take it too late or too early, then I'm just super high, and I'm having a good time, Like alone high, I have a nice time.
Yeah.
But I want to do something else. I don't want to have to take something to go to sleep, if that meant. But
wait, so if you take gummies too late, are then you high in the morning still?
no, I just stay up until like 4 a.m. Googling things like how much does a horse weigh? And then I call my buddy who lives on the East Coast and leave him very long messages where the next morning he's like, and I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot I even sent that to you. Like I didn't like black out, but I just like forgot because it was the middle of the night. There was like a TikTok where this guy was like acting out online fights. Oh my God, this killed me. I was so high. So one of like a woman was like, I got kicked by my horse who weighs 12,000 pounds. And then this other woman comes in and she goes, do you mean 1,200 pounds?
I was going to say, that's a big horse.
Horses don't weigh 12,000 pounds. And then the other girl, instead of being like, oh yeah, I added an extra zero, she was like, fuck you, Debbie. How dare you call me a liar? And then Debbie comes back and is like, I wasn't calling you a liar. It's just like horses aren't that big. And she's like, they are. At least my horse is that big. So then I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. And then I'm like, how much does a horse weigh?
Yeah.
So I go to Google and I write how much does, and then Google finishes it a horse weigh, and I fucking lose my mind. I'm like, enough people have wanted to know this information, and I'm crying. So then I call, the guy is like my brother. I call him and I'm like explaining, I'm doing what I'm doing now, but I'm like crying. I can't get out the words. I'm laughing so hard. Horse weighs like 3,000 pounds, 1,200 to 3,000 pounds, something like that. Yeah, 1,200.
Everybody went on that same journey, that they had a gummy, they watched this video, then they had to Google it, and that's why Google's like, we know exactly where you are. We know you want to know. Here's the information. It's not 12,000 pounds. Everybody thinks that.
This one TikTok. Oh my gosh. So I've been dabbling in that, but I still don't understand how people, because a lot of people are just high all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
and then people say you can microdose it. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I don't think it's a thing. If you have a little bit, you're high.
Yeah.
I don't think you microdose it. You're like, oh, I microdose. No, you just got less high than you normally are, but you're still high.
But you're still high. I have 2 gummies in my, I have a little cookie jar that my grandma made me.
Oh, nice.
And so I have all of my drugs in there, which she would not have been all right with that. She was a very, very devout Catholic lady.
Oh, yeah. So you said you don't partake in drugs, but it's filled with drugs, or just?
I mean, not drugs like ecstasy or anything crazy. I mean, when I do that mic, which I've done, I did a show and 1 mic, and I can't go back because it's so smoky.
Yeah.
They gave me 2 joints and a blunt.
Okay. You know,
so I have those. And then I did
it. She would love having that you're using that cookie jar for that. She'd love it.
Yeah. I'm like, I think I'm the only one. She made a bunch of them for our family, and I think I'm the only one that still has it. So at least, yeah. And then I did user generated content, UGC work.
Oh, okay.
Where they like send you a product and you go, oh my God, this water bottle is so great. And then they put it on Instagram.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of those.
Nice.
If you want to get into it, I'm gonna install a bidet right after this. And I have to make a video.
I want to know all about that, honestly.
Yeah, and I actually will send you if you want to make those videos. It's like a weird way to make money, but it's like it adds up. So anyway, so there was a edible company that sent me 3 big edibles, and all I had to do was just make a video about them. But you weren't allowed to say marijuana. You had to say the good stuff. Like,
I like this idea of the video. It's like this is good stuff, and then like, whoa, how much does a horse weigh? And then it's just a video of you going, hey, calling your friend, get a horse. And it's like, so anyways, enjoy the good stuff.
The brand sends me a message. They're like, this wasn't exactly what we had in mind.
It's just a live stream of you for like 6 hours. Like, horses, how much does the biggest horse weigh?
And I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard.
That'd be a good, super cut of that. That'd be a good video.
That'd be great, but I don't think they
wouldn't like that.
I think they, I mean, I had a good time. So I have that in the cookie jar. And then I have 2 gummies that my friend gave me that are supposedly microdosing mushrooms. And
this is not where I thought this was going. I was like, microdosing? Yes. Oh, mushrooms. Switch.
Yeah. But I've never done mushrooms. Have you ever done mushrooms?
I have. So you have microdose gummies of mushrooms Yeah, stuff. I mean, psychedelics. It's scary, or anything that's strong is scary. I know people who just will like pop anything, and I'm like, I don't know. If you're not in the right place, it can be traumatizing, and then make you more fucked up than you already are.
Yeah. I, in college, did a lot of ecstasy. Not a lot, like maybe a handful of times. Not like
Just a
to
handful.
where, yeah, I ate a whole once, the whole, but I did it with like a group of people, and we would all take our pill at once. And this apparently makes me a sociopath. I would pretend to take my pill, and then I put it in my pocket, and then I would wait an hour. And if no one died, I would take my pill. My buddy,
That's
because
the smartest thing you could possibly do, I think. If you're in a place where it's like casual recreational drugs, it's probably the smartest thing.
where you don't know where they came from. Kids die of drugs all the time, right? Especially back then. And like, and my buddy was like, recently I was telling him that, he goes, what would you have done if all of your friends died? And I was like, well, I would be alive. Yeah, I wouldn't have died.
You would
True.
have
Traumatizing, but
Yeah.
I would have called the cops, explained what happened, and then I would get to go live the rest of my life.
Right. It'd be quite a story, and then people then would judge you, and they'd go, well, you should have done it too, and they would bring the shoulds back. Well, you should have done it. How dare you not take it with your friends? Like, but I'm literally alive, otherwise I would have been dead. But you're saying I should have done it?
Yeah, the shoulds are, but all of us have that. Like, do you have that long crazy list that you're like, that you just keep putting things on it that you need to get done, and the list never ends ever. It never ends.
No, because you cross one thing out, but then you add three things.
Yeah,
Never
and I have
ends.
ADHD, so I have learned in order to stay focused, because my brain I'll be like typing something up, and then my brain will be like, hey, I wonder why World War I started. I forgot that. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll look it up later. And then my brain's like, we need to look it up now. Look it up now. Look it up now. And then I have to go look it up now. And then the next thing I know, 4 hours have passed, and I know everything about World War I. So now my trick is, if I just write it down on my to-do list, my brain's like, I'm satisfied with that. You can go back to your. It's the best ADHD hack I've ever learned. I mean, I have the biggest list in the world on my phone
Of things to look up.
look up, things to do, things I'm supposed to talk to, like all that. And sometimes I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, I did do that. Okay, I'll do that now. But yeah, that's the biggest ADHD hack I've ever heard.
Is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because there's so much, because I was going to say earlier when you're looking up the horse videos, like, could you imagine having marijuana in like the 60s when you didn't just have access to information? And like, I guess that's the cliche of like, hey, could you imagine, or what if? But like, now we just like, it's so much of like, if you're stoned, you get on your phone and you're just gone. You spend the entire time looking at your screen. But because so much now it's like, oh, I wonder this. And in the past we'd go like, oh, well, at some point I'll go to a library and look that up. But now you just get it immediately. And it's hard to not do it. Like, you can be in bed and go, oh, I need to look this up. I'll do it later. No, get out of bed and literally do it now if your phone's in the other room. Or if it's right next to you, then you grab your phone.
Do you put your phone in your other room?
I do. So it would stop me, but then I'll still get up to then go look this up. And it's like, well, now I got out of bed to do this.
Do you have an alarm clock, like a legit alarm clock, or do you just wake up without an alarm clock?
When the sun comes up, I'm usually like, the sun is up. This wasn't before ayahuasca. Before ayahuasca, I would get up. I had to have multiple alarms. But since ayahuasca, once the sun rises, I'm making this all up. It's all made up.
Oh, are you? Are you made? I was like, oh my God.
I have never done a drug in my life.
That's not true.
Ever. And I'm the one person who's not fucked up.
That's what I don't have words right now.
That's what makes people more fucked up, to think like, well, I'm not.
People really think that. People really, or they say it, and then they're like, the people who don't say they're fucked up, the people who say they're not fucked up are usually the most fucked up.
And the ones who judge you for doing something to help your fucked upness are the most fucked up.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I had a family Zoom in COVID. All my family was on the Zoom, and I was like, I was the only one that like had showered and like was up and like, you know what? And they were like, wow, you look pretty. Why are you wearing all this makeup or what? And I was just like, oh, that's the only way I won't open my wrists in a bathtub during this time. I need to wake up and have some kind of like routine, right? I didn't say that part, but I did, I think. And then I was like, all right, well, I got to take off. And my uncle was like, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I have therapy. And he looked at me and took a big swig of whiskey and went, "Good for you." It's like, it's noon.
Yeah, that group was like, well, we're all fucked up doing our stuff. How much of like a mess can you be? And you're like, well, I'm doing what I can. But how dare you? How dare you clean up? How dare you go to therapy? How dare you? You should have just been drinking that Maker's Mark. I remembered it this time.
So embarrassing. I don't think I could date somebody who thought Maker's Mark was a good whiskey. I know that sounds...
It says a lot. It's because like, if you think that, then what else do you think? Like, you're not aware of other things, which if you're not aware of at least if you're not aware of other whiskeys, like you can know, like, I know there's better stuff. Scotch, right? At least if you know that, you know there's other things. But if you're not aware that you think Maker's Mark is like the best whiskey, what else are you not aware of?
And how have you made it to almost, like, I think he was like 47, I think. How did you get this far along without knowing about other stuff? You're like, I'm going to give...
Isn't Maker's Mark sometimes the well whiskey at places, or no? Could it be?
I don't think I've ever had it as the well at places I've worked, but I think it is on par with a nicer bar that has, because I've had Larceny and what is it? Not Myers rum. That's not, what's the whiskey? Evan Williams as the well. And Evan Williams is better than Maker's, actually.
Right.
Like,
because I'm trying to think, is this guy, like, how did he get here? Did he go to a bar and it's like, I'll have a whiskey. You want the well? And he's like, what's the well? Evan, whatever. And then it's like, what is not the well? Maker's Mark? Ooh, I'll have the fancy one. Is that how he like got to think that it was like, well, it's not the well, so it must be the best.
It must. And you know what's funny? I talked about it on my podcast after I told him I wasn't interested. And I was really weird about, so he might listen to this, by the way. I'm assuming he's just going to listen to everything that I do from here on out. So I was weird. I don't have my name on dating apps. Like I'm not on the dating apps anymore, but I'm really Googleable. Men have just shown up. You know what? I've just for my own safety. So I just have my first initial. And I this go around, I didn't give a Google voice number, but lesson learned. And he was like very conscious of my boundaries. Like he gave me his last name and I was like, okay, well, I'm not ready to do that. And he was like, I just want to establish trust. So you know that he's like, I know women get unalived more than we do, right? So he was so the following week after the whole drunk in a park situation that I told him I wasn't interested, I talked about it on my podcast for like maybe 20 minutes, right? I told the whole story. I had some jokes, whatever. It was fine. Keith, he sent me the longest text message I have ever received from anyone. It was so long. He not only Googled me, then he spent an hour of his life listening to the podcast of a woman who said she was not interested. And then he took said podcast to his therapist, where his therapist agreed with everything I said. He argued with her. Then he said he realized that she was right. I mean, this is all in the text, by the way, where I was like, and he was like, but just so you know, she's not my boss. So I'm not going to stop dating just because she told me I should. And then he thanked me for changing his life. And I the only response I could think of to say was, make sure you like and subscribe. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't respond, but I was like, that's the only thing I could think to say. Wow. It was just like, thanks for listening. That's
the example of like someone like, oh, she's still in love with me. Like, and it's still obsessed. Like, dude, we didn't even go out. Get over this. Why are you messaging me?
What? Like, are you going to tell your therapist you sent this message? Because I'm sure she's going to have some more opinions about that. Because that is.
But that's okay. She's not his boss, so he can tell her things, but he then can do the opposite.
What an odd. Oh man, I saw that, but that's the should thing where women should. I sent it to a few friends thinking it was kind of funny, and oh, that's so nice. Maybe you should go out with him. And I was like, this isn't nice. This is psychotic behavior. This is a man who's already made up a relationship with me. Like he in his head. We dated. Yeah. I'm an ex at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And still possibly going to be back together.
That we're probably going to work it out as soon as he works out the stuff that he wished me prosperity. No one has ever said, I wish you all the wealth and prosperity in your life.
You really did change him. Now he goes to parks and drinks Maker's Mark and leaves before the cops even kick him out. Wow, it's changed. I have lost track of time so much.
Same.
And there's so much more. But wait, tell me about your podcast.